We have a fantastic line of speakers for both of these events. Please check the website for more details. Data ops, future-proofing your data platforms, all about increasing the industrial strengths of our data platforms. That's a virtual event on February 17th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And in April 6th and 7th, we have Advancing AI, a 2-day physical event in Melbourne, which is going to be around finding more use cases for AI, increasing the adoption, increasing the use cases, all within your organization. I'm super excited for these two events. I hope to see you there. I wanted to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Talent Insights. Talent Insights are Australia's leading data specialist recruitment business. They are experts in recruitment strategy and delivery for analytics and data teams. They are the go-to recruitment business for all your data roles in Australia, and they can help both with permanent hires and short-term project-focused data resources. I've used Talent Insights in the past, and I've always found them fantastic to work with. Visit them at talentinsights.com.au. Hi, and welcome to Data Futurology. My name is Felipe Flores. I am your host. Thank you so much for being here. If people don't know, if this is the first time that you're listening, welcome. In Data Futurology, we aim to cover and discuss the issues and challenges that leaders in this space are being faced with, because we all have these challenges in our jobs, in our day-to-day, in the organizations that we work in. We're trying to overcome these challenges, and we want to bring you different perspectives on how people are solving these problems to give you a wide array of possibilities, a wide array of opportunities, and being able to bring in this flexible thinking and different perspectives into your daily job and your organization. So thank you so much for joining. This episode is going to be we're going to be talking about the 5 trends in data analytics and AI that are going to shape 2022. So this is a end of the year episode where we're gonna do a little bit of wrap up of the year that has been. That's been a huge year for everyone, but mostly we're gonna focus on these 5 trends that are going to shape data analytics and AI in 2022. Before we jump in, a couple quick things is first I want to say a huge thank you to everyone, to everyone who's listening, to the audience. Thank you so much for all your continual support. This is the year 4 for Data Futurology, and I could have never imagined the way that this has gone, and I just I'm so thankful, and I really appreciate all of your support, and for you to listening in, week after week, month after month, and for coming to the webinars and the events. And next year we're going to have more physical events, and I hope to see you there as well. And thank you so much to you for listening, for tuning in, for supporting us. That's been amazing. The audience is fantastic, and we really work hard to give back to the community and to have the conversations that the community wants to hear about, and we love hearing from you guys directly, and to be able to provide the content that you want. And as part of that, this year we started our Slack community, which has been growing pretty quickly. So if you haven't joined yet, go to our website, datafuturology.com, and on the top there's a banner that says click here to join our Slack community. Click there and you'll join in the conversation. Share anything that you find interesting in this space, and get to meet like-minded people. But yes, so first of all, thank you so much to you, the listener, the audience, people that come to our webinars and check our YouTube page. Also, big thanks to our sponsors who help us put this together and help us keep the lights on. Without the fabulous sponsors that we've had over the years, and definitely this year, we wouldn't be able to continually create all this content for everyone. So that's been great, and also a huge thank you to the Data Futurology team, who has been growing throughout this year, and they're just fantastic. So I know that a lot of the audience and a lot of the guests have met a lot of them. There's a lot of people that work with sponsors, and a lot of people that do work behind the scenes on marketing and on editing and on operations, and they're all fantastic. Our content people and obviously our people working with the sponsors, all fantastic. And the guests that we've had on, I'll also big shout out, because they have been just top notch quality, year after year, which is fantastic. So that's all for the thank yous, and I really hope that we continue to provide value to you, so we can keep doing this for as long as we can. Okay, so before jumping into the 5 trends that are going to shape data analytics and AI in 2022, there are kind of like specific trends or things that are at a minimum recognizable, but are important to talk about. But if we go kind of like one level up, there are, I think, 3 sort of really macro trends that are driving a lot of the change in the industry that we're having at the moment. And I have to say, like, from my perspective, I'm so proud and impressed with our industry. I'm so proud to work in this space, and I'm so impressed by the speed at which we can improve and learn and do things, and the momentum that this industry has, both in data analytics and AI. It's heartwarming. Yeah, I don't have any other words. I'm so impressed, because as an industry, everyone who's in it, everyone is working so hard to make things so much better in our organizations, for our customers, for our clients in mind. And the progress that we make is increasing so rapidly, and year after year we're just covering more and more ground, and people are coming up to speed, keeping up, and there is so much work to be able to do that from everyone. So thank you so much for continually doing that, and it's fantastic to be part of this industry and of this community that works so hard and strives so much to be able to make a difference in people's lives with these technologies. So in terms of the 3 macro trends that I'm seeing, go very quickly, and then we can do a quick deep dive into each one of them. The 3 macro trends driving a lot of the changes in the space are value, scale, and advancement. And I'll mention what I mean by each of those. I'll just make a note here. So the 3 macro trends: value, scale, and advancement. First one, value. So organizations are expecting a return on investment from their data analytics, data science, and AI efforts. So for some, and there's obviously like a wide spectrum of what that looks like. On one end, there's stakeholders and business owners and executives that are extremely happy with the value that they're getting in AI, or extremely happy with the value they're getting from data analytics and AI either across the board or in particular sections of the business. And those people, have been supporters, are bought in, and they're excited to do more. Sometimes they would want to do more faster, but they're happy with that they're seeing value in there. On the other end of the spectrum, you can imagine stakeholders and executives and business owners who feel like AI and a lot of the advancements in analytics, they feel like those are hype. They feel like, they've been pouring money into this, and they've made kind of like some differences around the edges, but that they're yet to see a big lift in the organization, usually from a revenue or profit perspective, or which includes cost and risks in there. So being able to they think about seeing a big change or a big uplift in the organization in those metrics: revenue, profit, costs, risks. Those are the key things in their mind that they want AI to be tackling, and analytics to be helping with both with better decisions. So in value, some of the barriers and or some of the either challenges or sticking points that we've had as an industry in which we're improving on, they come into some of the trends. So those 5 trends that are going to shape 2022. So we'll cover those in a second. But definitely the first macro trend across the board in all different verticals. First macro trend is value. There's a higher expectation that these efforts in data analytics and AI are going to deliver a return for organizations that needs to be measured and that needs to be marketed. Like, people need to know that the value has been attained and that happened and that the company has changed. Because sometimes we do, as a industry and as a data scientist and engineers, sometimes we do a really good job at solving the problem, but only the people who were intimately involved, and by people I mean stakeholders, only the stakeholders that were intimately involved are the ones that find out that difference happened, or that now the problem is solved, or that and we typically don't put on our marketing hat to increase the reach of the communications about the successes and the problems that we solved. And that's an important piece to remember, because sometimes the good work that we do in our industry, sometimes it doesn't have all the impact or all the recognition that it could. So that's definitely part of the value. Having more of a marketing focus or spin. That's another part of the value. And additionally, I would put in there the what's often called the last mile. So last mile of AI, or the last mile of data analytics, which is adoption. So part of the value is creating the product. So the AI model or the analytics, creating the product. Then obviously that is going to create value if that product is delivered to users, being customers or internal stakeholders. We need to have a mechanism to deliver that product to people so they can interact with it and you leverage that product to make better decisions. Sometimes it's people, or sometimes it's automated decisions, but that product needs to be delivered. Second part of the value. And then the third part of the value is people actually using it. So if you think about what the actually using it looks like, if you're on an e-commerce website and you get product recommendations, clicking on those recommendations and buying more as a result, that's using it. Or if somebody is using AI in say contract negotiations, or in mergers and acquisitions, and or in a clinical setting as a doctor, say, and they have AI that are that they can use for decision support. We want those users to be interacting with that AI, and for there to be a feedback mechanism that the AI is providing this decision support. The user is consuming that and making a decision based on that decision support, and then there's the feedback back into the system that the decision was made, and ideally that the decision was made with the information that was presented, or with the assistance of an AI. So sometimes it's information that's presented, or sometimes to humans, or sometimes it's automated decision making that you might be thinking. Automated decision making could be detecting fraud in credit card transactions. So generally, the decisions that are automated in AI are more operational decisions, and decisions that happen hundreds of thousands of times per day in an organization. So if you think about, say, credit card transactions, that happens hundreds of thousands of times for most financial institutions. So you need, in that case, an automated system to be able to detect fraud, or at least flag the transactions that are of concern or of interest to a human review. So in the automated decision making, that's generally in the operational side of a business, and then the decision support helping humans, that's more on a strategic side, or when there's more things at stake, which you can think about like healthcare and things like that. Those are the areas. So crossing that adoption gap, getting use out of the products that are being delivered, that's a key part of getting value from our efforts as data scientists and data analysts. We need to work with the users and the stakeholders on an ongoing and iterative basis to get them comfortable to use these products, and for the products to be embedded into their daily workflow. That's something that is a key milestone in adoption. That if people were doing their work before the analytics or the AI was available, then it means that now that the analytics or AI are available, they're going to need to change the way that they work. They need to change their processes in terms of the users. They need to change their process in the way that they need to change the way they do their work, their job, their day-to-day. Their day is going to look different as a result of this technology coming in. So creating that change where people are reevaluating and adopting new business processes in order to embed the analytics and the AI into their day-to-day, that is a key milestone in the adoption process that will help you get the value from the efforts in the technology. And throughout this year, we had about 60 executives on the podcast from different parts of the world, and almost all of them tackled this value piece in slightly different manners. And there was people, for example, we had the vice president of AI from Airbus on the podcast, Adam Bonifield. He was great. And one of the things that stuck with me out of the conversation with him is that in Airbus, his team is over 200 people, right? Huge. And more than half of that is technical people. So software engineers, data scientists, data engineers, cloud engineers. That is definitely the majority of the team. But besides that, he has product managers, project managers, and communications people, marketing people that can and change management people. So within his team, within his remit, he has people whose job is to amplify the communications or share the accomplishments of the team. And so that's on the marketing and communication side. And then on the other side, he has people that or through change management, their job is to help the recipients, the users, help them change the way that they do their work, so they can make use of the technologies that are being delivered in their work, and then as an organization they can get the value. So that's something that's really interesting, where I think a lot of people might not overlook, but maybe not spend enough time on that piece, on the adoption within value. So within value, to get value out of this technology, we need to create great products. We need to be able to deliver great products so people can interact with them, and then we need to get people using those, and the more feedback and interaction you have with them, the better. So that's kind of like macro trend 1, value. Macro trend 2 is scale, and within scale I'm gonna maybe sneak in there speed. So scale and speed together. So the scale component is being able to serve a product to many users, or use it across the organization through in many operational areas. Some of the people that we've had on the podcast who've done this really well. We've had quite a few throughout the years, but one of the recent ones that come to mind is Ivan Liu from Rocked. He's the director of engineering there, and he was on in the podcast. It was episode 174. We did that webinar as a LinkedIn Live event, which was really good. So you can find it on LinkedIn as well, and it's on YouTube and across the podcasting platforms. But the interesting thing one of the interesting things that Ivan's done there is, or maybe let's start with his requirements. His requirement is to embed machine learning models on client sites like their websites. The clients that he has are e-commerce companies, and he needs to provide mostly things like product recommendations within 100 milliseconds, and this needs to be embedded across like thousands of e-commerce websites who are the clients, and there's some data sharing that happens in the background between the e-commerce companies and Rocked, which is where he works. So data sharing needs to be done at speed, as you would know. Then there needs to be data preparation in order to make the predictions, and then the predictions or recommendations, and then those need to be served back in the e-commerce website where the customer is browsing. Scale is huge, as in like the number of people that need to be served by the products, by the AI, that the number of people that need to be served with personalized recommendations is, in the millions. So that's the scale piece. And then adjacent to that, the speed is that they need to be able to provide those recommendations within 100 milliseconds. Like crazy crazy fast predictions being done for each customer. So for that, they, as people would expect, you need to create heaps of automation, really good infrastructure, scalable infrastructure, and they've actually built their ML pipeline themselves completely end to end, and they use Kubeflow as to be able to manage and orchestrate the infrastructure, the computing resources, to be able to provide their predictions and recommendations at that scale and at that speed. So that's a very extreme example, but but it demonstrates the macro trend that more and more as an industry, we are wanting to provide our products at scale and at speed, and that's definitely the expectation of businesses, of stakeholders, of executives, of business owners, that we are able to serve these at scale and at speed. In my line of work, which is in healthcare, we do recommendations on preventative healthcare. So we do one of the things that we do is personalized healthcare plans for each person on how they can be healthier. And we do those based on clinical evidence. And then as people share more of their data with us, and we give them some surveys and some other things, they give us some data, and then we give them these personalized recommendations. And we sort of say, hey, if we know a little bit more about you and your health and your goals, then we can give you more information. And that needs to be kind of like an ongoing basis, but also needs to be served at scale and at speed. Same with us. Sometimes we give them the plan, as I just mentioned, and sometimes we recommend that they use certain programs, support programs, or certain programs, or sometimes different apps for them to get the support that they need in order to get healthier or stay healthier. And that is kind of like a marriage or a match that we need to do between the person's needs and all the products and programs that are out there and the ones that we have access to, and be able to provide that recommendation on a timely manner for each individual. So that's, again, at scale and at speed. So that's sort of macro pillar number 2, scale and speed. That's going to help us. Those are some of the expectations that are coming onto us as an industry, as practitioners, and it's definitely something that we pride ourselves on, and we've made great advancements on that front too. The last macro trend that I'll talk to is advancement, and what I mean by advancement is it's an increased use of data analytics and AI in more and more areas. So a lot of the recommendations on how to get adoption of AI in an organization, and a lot of the recommendations of how to start that journey, they say pick use cases that are very focused, where you can prove the value. And some people say pick those use cases as something that's not business critical, and then you can move into business critical areas. And then some other people say go for business critical areas first, or at least maybe a hybrid or an in between. They say at least go from some of the big levers that the organization can move, and then that will have a big impact. And the impact there is on the areas that we spoke about before. So revenue, profit, costs, risk are some of the key levers that definitely get executive and business owner attention quite quickly. So some people say go for the critical areas of the business. Other people say prove it in non-critical areas and then move into more critical areas. And you can see, for example, people's journeys like Andrew Ng when he was at Google, and then when he was at Baidu. Some of the early use cases that they were tackling were not business critical ones, but they were ones where they could make a significant improvement through the use of AI, and they focused on on the text to speech, speech to text. So they focused on speech to text. They focused on NLP. They did projects on like teaching AI to fly a helicopter, things like that, where over time, kind of like each project was getting more and more recognition and internal attention, and increasing the understanding of what AI and data analytics can do within the organization. And that's kind of part of the advancement to get people to want to use it, and essentially to drive the demand internally for the work that we can do. So that's part of the advancement, so increased use, but also getting that increased use in more and more areas of the business over time. So if you're say if you're in banking, then you want to be, and you might start working, applying AI in marketing, say, then you want to look at risk, you want to look at credit, you want to look at value add analytics, and you want to look at operations. And essentially you want to get data analytics and AI into every nook and cranny of the organization, so that, you know, obviously in a perfect world, every decision is being made with the support of data analytics and AI. So then the organization can be confident that it's making at least data informed decisions. And it's not that the data is making or that the AI is making the decisions. The decisions will, at least on a strategic level, will still be done by humans, but at least that those decisions are data informed. So this third macro trend is advancement, and advancement, increased use of this technology, the data analytics and AI, increased use in the organization and in multiple organizations. There's definitely increased use, and then there's increased use cases. So more and more areas are using this, and that's definitely a big macro trend. And in data futurology, this year we launched an event around advancing AI. So all about this advancement space. And this year we did it as a series, as a weekly series, which was a 13-part series, which was excellent. That didn't come out on the podcast, but it's available on the website. You just have to register, which is for free. If you register on the website, you get access to all the recordings of Advancing AI from this year, which we covered amazing topics. Among those, we had, for example, Dan German, who is the Chief Decision Scientist from Commonwealth Bank. And he was telling us that, you know, they have, from memory, they have about 1,000 models in production, and they have kind of about 5,000 models in the pipeline that they're working on. Now, not all 5,000 of these models are going to make it into production, and the way he was defining a model is by use case. So not all 5,000 are going to make it into production. But they're being worked on as, you know, candidates that if they get something good, then it is going to go into production. So the scale that they have is huge. The speed, and then they're using it in more and more areas. And by getting things into production and then getting users to use it or customers to interact with those, then they can get more of the value. And that's kind of how the three macro trends. That's how I see the three macro trends coming together. But this advancing AI event that we had, we did it as a series, 13-part series on throughout this year. It was early in the year, around March. In 2022, we're going to have it as a physical event. So we're going to have probably in around April. And what we're going to do is have a few podcast releases before that or leading up to the event that are going to be covering some of the topics that we're going to expand on in Advancing AI. So watch out for that. And and Advancing AI will probably be around April in Melbourne, and then around August, September in Sydney. So we'll have a physical event on, hopefully on both cities, obviously pandemic allowing. And if not, we'll go into an online version, and we might have to play with the format. We might do a 1 or 2 day event like we recently did with the MLOps event. So in November this year, Data Futurology did the first MLOps event in Australia, which was amazing. As in, like, we were super thankful for the opportunity and to be able to do that. So we did that one as a full day event. We might do something similar with Advancing AI next year, but if not, then it will be part of our weekly series. And if you sign up on the website, you'll be notified by email. Follow us on social media; it'll definitely be coming up there. Listen to the podcast, and also ideally join the Slack community, because then that's where we're having a lot of chats about what's happening in the industry, a lot of sharing of ideas and perspectives. You also get to meet like-minded people. Sometimes I keep in touch with old colleagues. We've had a lot of people that, they find other people in the Slack community and says, hey, I used to work with that person. I had lost their number, or I wasn't sort of in as much contact as I would have liked. And they're finding that the Slack community is a great place for that. So definitely join that. Great. So now we've discussed the 3 macro trends: value, scale and speed, and finally advancements. So increased use in more and more areas. With that, let's go into the 5 trends in data analytics and AI that are going to shape 2022. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you got a lot out of this discussion. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel so more people can find out about the challenges that leaders have in the analytics and AI space. And that's what we're trying to share in Data Futurology. So please like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Thank you so much.